Go Jackets.
What is going on, everyone, and welcome to WreckTalk. So I'm branching out a little bit. I want to talk about some other teams. I normally just talk about Georgia Tech, but we just played Ole Miss, so I feel like I'm qualified to talk about this game. Now, I did go back and watch Alabama play Texas, and I watched you play USF last week. I keep wanting to say UAB. Georgia's got UAB this Saturday. Alabama struggled mightily with South Florida to the point I probably should have done a Carl from Sling Blade video on that. Our offense got a problem. Is it a bigger one? All right, then. Yeah, there's a big problem with Alabama's offense, and I don't think it's something that's going to be solved in just a week. The most curious thing is how Alabama and staff could not figure out that Jalen Milroe is the best quarterback they have on their roster. I watched Tyler Buchner come in against South Florida. Not only does he not look like the best quarterback on your roster, Buchner doesn't even look like a Division I quarterback. Like, he throws a football like a baseball. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but he kind of sidewinds his throw. He has a bizarre throwing motion that has zero velocity on the ball. And in conjunction with that, he has zero accuracy. I mean, how many feet of wide receivers did Buchner throw it to? Then you bring in Ty Simpson, who's definitely a better quarterback than Buchner, but you can tell there's just not any chemistry with this offense. You can tell that Alabama offense is playing tight. They're just kind of waiting for something bad to happen or hoping something bad doesn't happen and praying something good happens. It's not good. Now, Jalen does seem like the best quarterback on your roster, and I'll say this, he seems like a talented quarterback. He does have some zip on the ball, and his athleticism speaks for itself, right? But he's young. He's going to make mistakes. In fact, against Texas, he threw 2 picks that I don't even know how he saw the wide receiver, because the wide receiver should have been obscured by 2 really white Texas jerseys. I don't know how he saw the wide receiver. 2 really bad picks. And look, I think it's the sign of just a very inexperienced quarterback that's just trying to force things and make things happen. And I mean, is there any more pressure a quarterback can have than playing at Alabama, who has had the success they've had in the past? You know, Nick Saban is the greatest coach of all time. And even Lane Kiffin in a press conference said he's probably the greatest coach in any sport. Because he brought up, now you have 85 scholarships. Used to be you could have 150 scholarships and just cut kids. It's actually why Georgia Tech left the SEC. That's another story for another day. The other problem is that when Alabama does get some things right and does score points, they take the points back off the board with penalties. 14 points in both UAB and Texas that came off the board due to penalties. And that's killer. When you're struggling as an offense and you score, you can't erase that. You're not going to have an opportunity to score again probably, or score as many points as you did. So just looking, Buchner was 5 of 14 against South Florida, 34 yards. Ty Simpson, 5 of 9, 73 yards. And I think you had barely 300 yards of offense in that game. I don't know if I wrote it down. Yeah, you had 310 total yards of offense and only 107 yards passing offense against South Florida. Now, this is the tough thing with a team like Alabama, and Georgia, has risen to the success they have. So now you're kind of catching up to them or trying to reclaim the crown from them. But you're also giving up 5 sacks. You gave up, I think, 10 sacks in these 2 games combined. So you're also having issues on your offensive line. And that's why I am kind of baffled that Alabama's a 7-point favorite as of the recording of this video. It might have changed, in the last hour or two. If I was setting this line, I would have Ole Miss at -3 because I don't think, and Alabama's defense is good. I'll give them that. I don't think they're going to be able to score enough points to beat Ole Miss. Here's the thing. Ole Miss has a very good offense. Kind of similar. Lane is kind of similar with like Lincoln Riley, where struggled on defense. Top of the country offense. Jackson Dart is a very good quarterback. The running back they have, Quinshon Judkins, one of the best running backs in the country. They're going to score points on you. They're going to score. I don't see a scenario where they don't score at least 21 points on you. Now, their defense does struggle. They have some issues with coverage. They have some issues with run stopping. Georgia Tech was able. Look, when we played Ole Miss, we were out gaining them by like 30 yards at half, and the yardage at the end of the game wasn't even that. There wasn't a great parity either. So Ole Miss's defense is going to give up points to Alabama. So the question is, which one of these things is going to happen? Is Alabama's offense going to be better than, or substantially better than Ole Miss's defense? And I just don't think so. Zamari Walton did go down against Tech for Ole Miss. He's going to be healthy and ready to go, according to Kiffin. Though you can't really believe what Kiffin says about injuries. There was a report 4 hours before kick last week when we played Ole Miss that Judkins was going to be out. He looked stronger every time he ran the ball against us, so I don't know. But yeah, this is a game I certainly wouldn't bet, right? And the other thing that has to be frustrating if you're Lane, if you look at the press conferences he had, I think yesterday and then maybe Monday, half of the questions were about Nick Saban and how great Nick Saban is. And I imagine if you're Lane Kiffin, it's like, hey, they're struggling and we got a pretty good team too. Like, can we stop talking about how great Nick Saban is and like what we're going to be able to do and how we're going to execute our offense? And let's talk about their offense. They do a very good job at disguising what they're doing, so they'll motion a wide receiver out. In fact, if Tech fans have already seen it, but if you're not a Tech fan, I actually broke down their offense. If you want to look at what they do and what they do well, why they're so effective, I'll link it in the description of the video. Go check out that video with the Tech Ole Miss breakdown. But they do a lot of motion. They disguise what they do up until the snap of the ball. You can have 3 plays that look exactly the same, and the ball goes in wildly different places. So, like I said, they're going to be able to score points against Alabama. So I think really what this comes down to is, can Alabama, and really most importantly, can Jalen Milrose put to bed some of his turnover issues and poor decisions enough to counteract the number of points that Ole Miss is going to be able to score? The other thing that's going to be important is like Roydell Williams and your other running back that get a lot of snaps are going to have really good days. They did against South Florida. Roydell Williams had 129 yards and a touchdown. But what is Ole Miss going to do? Ole Miss is just going to stack the box. This is no secret. They're going to put 8 in the box and say, you're going to have to beat us throwing the ball with Milrose. Now, the other thing is, when you blitz a lot like that against an aggressive or a athletic quarterback, you got to wrap up and tackle him if you get there. Otherwise, he's either going to have a wide open running lane or he's going to have a wide open pass. And that's happened a little bit with him at quarterback. But like I said, I don't understand. I can kind of understand Alabama being favored maybe in this game, but not by 7 points. I imagine that line is going to move probably to 3.5, if I had to guess. Ole Miss is a very good offensive team. Very good offensive team. And I don't think when you have a quarterback issue, even when the quarterback does make the right throw, wide receivers are dropping the ball, you're getting sacked 5+ times a game. I think that's too much to overcome for a very good offensive team that has a decent defense, right, by SEC standards. Other thing is Alabama has made a lot of mistakes not typical of Alabama. Penalties, special team snafus like muffing a punt. Alabama has to be one of the most penalized teams in the country now. I don't know where you find that stat, but I think, was it against Texas? They had they had 10 penalties for 90 yards. I mean, that's killer. And your third down conversion rate is not good. 5 for 14 against Texas and 5 for 15 against South Florida. And you're in most of the time you're in third down. You're in a lot of third down circumstances because your offense is struggling to move the ball. So what do you think if you're an Alabama fan? Can you run the ball enough, and can Milrose do well enough to progress as an offense to win this game and score more points than a very good Ole Miss offense? If you're an Ole Miss fan, how do you feel about this game? Are you as intimidated as Alabama? Are you as intimidated against Alabama as you have been in the past? Do you feel good going into this game? By the way, Ole Miss does have, I think, their top 2 wide receivers coming back. Trey Williams is coming back, their leading wide receiver. Not only do I think Alabama doesn't cover, I think Alabama gets beat in Tuscaloosa and takes their second loss in this game. Now, that being said, I've been wrong about every single prediction that I've made, which is statistically harder to do than just being right about 1 or 2 things that I've said. So I guess I'm doing better statistically by being wrong. Who knows? Let me know what you guys think. I hope y'all have a good day. See you later.